Good afternoon, Saitlanders. How are you? We trust that you are very, very well. And I hope that the microphone is working. I don't ever listen to any interviews that I do or watch any videos, interviews, anything that I'm involved in. It's a lifelong habit, if you like. But the other day I had to search for a video because I wasn't sure if I'd uploaded it. And so I had to check check through a couple of videos to find the right one. I hadn't yet entitled it, so I wasn't sure. And I noticed that in 2 or 3 videos the sound was appallingly bad, and I apologize for that. Hopefully this one's will be a lot better. I'd like to chat to you. You know, my mother has a saying, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything. And she said it to us lifelong. And I don't say I abide by that saying, but I have enough filial piety within me. That means kind of the respect for your parents, or respectability of a child for his parents, to be bothered by it when I do this work that I do. I'm not somebody who doesn't skinner or doesn't attack these guys who rule us, but I find myself doing it so often that it plagues my conscience because of that thing that our mother taught us when she brought us up. And my conscience is bothering me right now just to talk about this. It's not possible to say a good word. FBI alerts Hawks to cyber attack on South African Reserve Bank. Apparently, it came out, I had no idea of this, absolutely no idea, but it's come out in sort of a series of leaks. Apparently, it was first mentioned by the Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana, in November, that this had taken place on the 12th of August. But so he spoke about it at some meeting of leaders, local leaders, whatever, in the Eastern Cape. But it was first reported by Business Tech 7 days ago. Now today is 2 days before the longest day of the year, which is actually I got into a conversation about this the other day. Let's just check. Longest day of the year, Southern Hemisphere. And no matter what the answer is, the correct answer, I'm going to pretend that I was right. Okay. I did not know this. Apparently, in the Southern Hemisphere, and presumably in the Northern Hemisphere too, I don't know, the longest day of the year, that is to say, the summer solstice, can occur on the 21st, 22nd, or 23rd of December. Longest day of the year, 2022. It's today, Wednesday, the 21st of December. I said to somebody the other day that it's the 21st. We were just talking incidentally. And that person said to me, no, it's the 23rd. And they looked it up on their phone. And so, the person will watch this video. Please don't be offended, Oom. It's not your fault if that's what the Google search result was. They said, no, it's the 23rd. Anyway, apparently it can be the 21st, 22nd, or the 23rd of December in the Southern Hemisphere. And as it happens, it is today, Wednesday, the 21st of December. So, 7 days ago on the 14th, the first report came out. And that report said that Enoch Godongwana spoke about it a month prior. So somewhere in the middle of November, about the middle of August. So middle of August, September, October, November. 3 months before anybody mentions it. And the first proper report, almost 4 months later. Well, 4 months later. 4 months almost to the day. Can you please explain to me, because I don't know, how it is that the FBI had to alert the Hawks, and the Hawks, and there's another article, and the rest of the security cluster knew nothing about it? A cyber attack on the Reserve Bank and the State Security Agency, the Hawks, Police Crime Intelligence, you name it, excuse the phone ringing in the background, didn't know. Nobody told them. Nobody tells them because nobody likes us because we... I could understand if it was Malawi or Nigeria. I wouldn't accept it, because I put it to you that if you are going to run an electronic high not artificial intelligence, IT, what, fancy schmancy, super cyber, modern banking system, you have to guard it, safeguard it, protect it and defend it, as well as you would do if you were running a more primitive system that was all based upon physical banknotes and you had to have vaults. So even in Nigeria, Malawi, wherever else, you must take adequate precautions such that even if the crooks outwit you, as crooks outwit governments and art galleries and museums and banks every day. But you must have such adequate protection in place that when you arrive at work the next morning, you can see that they dug a hole into the... Not only did these oaks not know that it was happening, they didn't know that it had happened. I said to somebody, perseverance, there is so much value in perseverance. It often occurs to me that God intervenes when it comes to perseverance. And I expect that it's because of his promise in the book of Genesis that appears in the form of a curse, that you will sweat, by the sweat of your brow, you will labor and get your reward. I'm sorry that I'm quoting so poorly. I think of Gary Player saying, the more I practice, he was interviewed on some or other occasion many years ago, I think in the 70s. And he was asked a question about being lucky. You know, he'd had a lucky day on the golf course. The ball, there was a gust of wind that only lasted 5 seconds. Just when his ball was in the air, whatever it may be, he hit the bunker and bounced out of the bunker. The ball skipped across the water trap. And by the end of the day, he'd been lucky on a number of occasions. And so the interviewer said, "Hey, you were lucky today." And he said, "The more I practice, the luckier I get." And it became one of his sayings. And he said it on multiple occasions throughout his career. And as I got older, I suppose in my 30s, I'm not a golfer, but, you read newspapers sometimes. It began to occur to me that what Gary Player was talking about was a miracle of a sort. A miracle being the suspension of the laws of nature. That's the definition of a miracle. And I don't think, well, maybe he knew, maybe he realized, maybe he didn't, but there's no magic there, except that it is the magic of God. And therefore, perseverance is the most phenomenal thing. If you persevere at something, most of the times you succeed. And the more that you then continue to persevere, the more that you succeed in an inexplicable way. But sometimes you can be so rubbish at something that it's better to pack up and bugger off. During the English Revolution, I think it was Oliver Cromwell who deposed the monarchy. The monarchy was reinstated afterwards, but he deposed the monarchy. He was like a Puritan, very religious, and thought that the monarchy was decadent. And so he, in simple terms, he instigated the English Civil War. And at one point, there was a parliament, every year. So South Africa now this year has had its whatever parliament, 64th, 89th, 212th parliament. So there was one particular parliament, one sitting of it, one year, or one election cycle. And it was known as the Long Parliament. And he yelled at them one day, "You have been here long enough for any good you might have done. Now in the name of God, go." I say that we are fast approaching the point where even if we cannot get rid of the ANC, even if we're going to be saddled with a reserve bank that doesn't know what's going on, walking into work in the morning with a cane, tapping its way, tick, 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 not seeing the hole in the side of the wall, leading to the vault. Even if that never changes, I do beg your pardon. I've already flattened my glass of water. We need to learn to think in terms that insulate us from and isolate us from buffoons. And of course, I'll be castigated as a wild, racist maniac for saying that the white people of South Africa must isolate and insulate themselves from buffoons, presumably the blacks of South Africa. Strictly speaking, that's incorrect. I caused ructions among the right-wingers, the real conservatives of South Africa. Ructions. A lot of people were very upset when I pointed out, and this is a scientific fact, that any Mampara could, that there are more, far more black people of average IQ, that is to say, of the average white IQ, than there are whites. It's because of the overlapping of the normal distribution, otherwise referred to as the sine wave or the bell curve. So in fact, my truth is far more informed than that of the idiots who criticize me. I bet you none of the sanctimonious, self-righteous, black sash ladies of Killarney and Lower Houghton knew that fact. Nevertheless, it is not the best and the brightest of Africa that governs this country. It is a gangster mentality derived from the free rein that communism gives its practitioners to carry out, to fulfill the doctrines of communism. Therefore, gangsters and buffoons dominate the African National Congress and their deployed cadre. And it is from that we have to learn to isolate and insulate ourselves to the greatest extent possible. Because when you have, how many state intelligence agencies do we have? The crime intelligence, military intelligence, national intelligence, the state security agency, and I believe that there are one or two more. Between the bunch of them, they didn't even know that somebody had come in the dead of night with a great big machine and drilled a hole through the wall of the Reserve Bank all the way to the vaults. Metaphorically speaking, I hope I didn't lose anybody here. I'll read the report again. FBI alerts Hawks about cyber attack, computer attack, internet, online, whatever you call these things, World Wide Web attack at South African Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank. And they didn't know. The last question, I'll wrap up briefly, is it normal that the FBI should be able to monitor us, our organs of state, so closely that it knows these things? Doesn't sound right to me. Although, perhaps they monitor certain algorithms on the internet, and through that they can determine that there's certain behavior, certain activities taking place. In other words, for instance, I'll give you a for instance. Geez, I hope I can remember this well enough to tell it. All finance, historically and traditionally, has been coded, I'm talking in cyber terms, computer terms, in COBOL language, a notoriously difficult language constructed by a woman from the US Navy, I believe. And the ongoing joke is that her language. Have you ever seen that thing on the internet where a guy, in all seriousness, is talking to a group of people, but you only hear women's voices laugh and giggle and what have you? So it may have been only women. He wasn't attacking women, he was explaining something. And judging by his explanation, he's speaking to men, but the women are laughing freely. And he explains the difference between how men speak and how women, or how men think and women think. A man will phone this is the example he uses. And as he's speaking, he draws a straight line with an arrow across a whiteboard. He says, a man phones his friend and says, how about we meet at 6 o'clock at Buffalo Bill's bar for some beers. We'll watch the Monday night football, American football, and we'll have some wings, and we'll be home by 9. His friend says, yeah, cool, I'll see you there. A woman phones her friend and she says, hey, what's going on? And her friend says, I don't know, how's it going with you? She says, I don't know, do you feel like doing something? I don't know, my hair's just been one of those days, you know. And as he's saying this, he draws a series of squiggles and lines, and back up, it looks like wool or spaghetti. Right. With that in mind, this woman who wrote the COBOL language, allegedly, so the joke goes, did it as a woman would do it. There's lots of emotion, there's lots of feeling, there's lots of sentiment, there's like, you know, and it's not one straight line of logic. So it could be that the FBI, with their sort of cyber binoculars, observe on the internet lines of code in COBOL that would be required to interfere with the South African Reserve Bank. I don't know, I'm speculating. One of you might know better. One of you might say, no, Simon, you've got the wrong end of the stick. Oh, dear me, you haven't a clue what you're talking about. Actually, it's in Python. But we're talking about the security casing, in cyber terms, around the Reserve Bank. That's all in Python. It's in C, it's in C++, whatever. Nothing to do with COBOL. Okay, I don't know. Maybe the FBI was using the C++ binoculars. Other FBI guys. Sorry about that, guys. I couldn't tell you. Maybe they're monitoring certain criminal gangs that they know of. And then they saw them attack the Reserve Bank. So perhaps they were not spying on the Reserve Bank. Nevertheless, my original point still obtains. Perhaps the FBI is keeping a closer eye on the Reserve Bank than our oaks are able to do. Even the next morning, so to speak, when they get to work. Obviously, this is a 24-hour thing. You've got to have guys on high alert, day, night teams, young lighties from the University of Pretoria who know how to do that stuff. Tomato stains down the front of their shirts, wearing shorts, just a disgrace, but capable of doing that work. 24 hours a day, 3 shifts. But even if the guys on the night shift miss it, when the main team is at graft the next morning, surely you noticed that somebody bent the burglar bars, had been mucking around with the front door lock, had broken a pane of glass, surely Anyway, guys, this is now a long video. I'm going to say thank you very much for watching it. Look forward to speaking to you very soon again. God bless and keep all of you. I say it to you with love from my heart. Thank you and bye-bye.